Now, of course, the biggest news in the world of entertainment right now is the possible and pending takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery by Paramount and David Ellison. Of course, Netflix had it. Paramount came with a bigger offer. Netflix says that's overpaying. We're not going to pay that much. They backed out. Netflix had to cut, or Paramount had to cut Netflix a check for a clean $2.8 billion, which, by the way, is enough to buy Regal and AMC theaters chains. Maybe Netflix can do that with the money. But David Ellison held a bit of a town hall on the Warner Brothers lot for about 150, if I heard the number right, of the top executives of Warner Brothers to give kind of a introductory speech and all kind of stuff. By the way, Ted Sarandos did the same thing after they announced that Netflix had won the bidding deal. And apparently, according to reports coming out of it, the WB executives were unimpressed. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Many in the room were hoping to hear of a plan moving forward or clarity on timetables or layoffs. Many walked away feeling their hopes were dashed. There was a lot of talk of storytelling and coming together, and Ellison was dismissive of reports of huge layoffs. Yet, one person who attended the session added, "We don't believe him." Now, one of the things I've always said about David Ellison on here that I've heard quite frequently from a lot of people is that he is a true die-in-the-wool. Think whatever else you think of him. He is a big movie fan. He loves movies. And that kind of got echoed here. Another executive says that Ellison came across as passionate and very much a lover of movies. I've heard that myself. The CEO says he envisions the combined company spending more on the creation of content than any other media company. Ellison has reiterated that the merged company would release at least 30 theatrical films per year, not called Avatar, The Last Airbender, from the combined studio. And he talked of having one streaming platform and one company, while stating the plans was to keep both lots. However, a third executive tells the Hollywood Reporter that Ellison acknowledged the turbulent deal process of getting to today's place, but that may not have been enough for the executives in the room. There is still a tremendous amount of uncertainty over here, notes the Warner Brothers executive. We were hoping for more from the meeting. What kind of more? Well, one insider who was in attendance at this session notes that the event, which included remarks by David Zaslav and a 30-minute Q&A session with questions submitted in advance, led by Chief Communications Officer Robert Gibbs, was a stark contrast to a similar meeting held by Netflix in December. At that time, CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters came to speak to the leadership in Warner Brothers that felt more celebratory, and there was a plan, the Warner Brothers executive says. Here it was like, I don't know, just tell us what's going on. So the reports coming out from Warner Brothers executives are, hey, listen, Ellison, clearly lover of the movies, really does want to be a movie executive. He loves movies. He wants to make movies. That's great. However, the executives walked out of the meeting saying he's not believable. We don't trust him. That when Ted Sarandos was here, he laid out an actual plan, like what the plan was. We got nothing about a plan. We got no information about the $6 billion in cutbacks they're going to do over there, which means layoffs. We didn't do anything. We just heard how much he loved movies, which is great, but not a great start. Anyway, Rob, you know my feelings on this. Like I am quite concerned that Paramount got this. Again, I was cheering for David Ellison, but I mean, we haven't even seen that he knows how to run Paramount.
Right.
Like he went from, Daddy, can I have a couple of $1 billion to buy a studio? And he got it. And then before he even got his seat warm at that studio, he said, Daddy, can I have some more billions of dollars to go get another studio? And listen, I've been very clear in here. I'm really concerned about I was looking forward, Rob, honestly, legitimately. I was excited, looking forward to seeing what he could do with Paramount over the next couple of years. And he hasn't done anything yet. Like nothing. And he's now going to, maybe sometime by the end of the year, He doesn't yet, but maybe by the end of the year, he may now also own Warner Brothers. And I'm kind of worried about it, especially when he's sitting here making promises about 30 films in theaters a year. And as we just covered, one of the first films that he inherited, one of the first things he did, pull it out of theaters. It's not going to be in theaters now. Avatar, Aang, The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender is going to go straight to streaming. Not a great start. And it sounds like he's not done a good job of getting the Warner Brothers executives to feel very comfortable about it either. Now, let me say this right now. None of that means that he cannot succeed. Not everything that I just said is true, but none of it automatically 100% guarantees that he can't succeed. I mean, I hope he succeeds. It's just, you have to acknowledge it's not off to a very great start. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, March is a time when we celebrate the women in our lives and recognize everything they carry every single day. Women often take on a lot, and sometimes their own well-being gets pushed to the side. And it's a great reminder of how much women give to the people in their lives. So this month is a great time to pause and reflect on the roles that you carry and the pressures that can come with them. Therapy can be a helpful space to work through those challenges, create balances, and set healthy boundaries so you can take care of yourself too. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp connects people with licensed therapists who follow a strict code of conduct. With over 30,000 therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp has an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on 1.7 million client reviews. They also match you with a therapist based on a short questionnaire, and if your first match isn't the right fit, you can switch to another from their recommendations. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. But at any rate, Rob, you heard about these reports coming from the Warner Brothers executives. What's your takeaway from it?
Well, I mean, how would you feel? You look at the people that are running Warner Brothers. Mike DeLuca started out as he worked his way up at New Line in the 80s. You know, and now he's worked his way all the way through New Line in the 90s and the aughts, and now he's the head of Warner Brothers after coming from New Line, being there for decades. A lot of the people at Warner Brothers, George Feltenstein, who runs Warner Archive, knows everything there is to know about not just Warner Brothers film library in terms of where the prints are, in terms of the negatives. He knows everything. He's one of the most knowledgeable people who works in Hollywood today. He runs Warner Archive. He's in charge of the restoration of all their catalog films. You have all these great people that work at Warner Brothers. Even Peter Safran. You know, it's not like he's a slouch. He's not just running DC. He also was in charge of doing the entire that universe that they created with The Conjuring. So you're dealing with people that have been very, very successful and accomplished for a very long time. David Ellison moved into the business when his father originally gave him $600 million, along with Megan Ellison, who created Annapurna, to start financing films. But it's not like David Ellison worked his way up in the industry from, say, being a PA on a low-budget horror movie or being a junior executive and working his way up. And you're going into a studio of people that are veterans, industry veterans that know what they're doing, and the studio's doing well.
You know far more what they're doing than you do.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and it's like you guys wanted to own. I would ask, the first question is, why do you need two studios? You know, I mean, we've got HBO here. We've got movies, aside from The Bride, we had 8 #1 films over the last year, whatever. And you guys can't even put out a slate of movies that make any money. You're in tremendous debt. You know, what are you going to do for us? So you've got a bunch of people that stand to be on the chopping block for basically another studio entity that isn't working very well right now. So how would you feel? So I think there's a lot. I mean, okay, you've bought the studio. What are you going to do with it? We don't see you running your own studio well.
Yeah, you haven't even shown what your plan for Paramount is, and you've had that gig. I mean, going back to 2024 is when they announced that you won the bid to win it, and we still haven't seen what your plan there is.
Right. And you guys were a little, it's not like you went about going about our studio in a fine way. You were petulant. You might have even had the President of the United States put some pressure on so you could get the studio. You know, I mean, it's not a good look. But then again, I wasn't in the room. I don't really know. This is above my pay grade. for me to speculate. But I would say, look, I just feel very protective of Warner Brothers.
Now, look, I should mention this too. You know, one of the things that I was really critical of last week was word got out that after David Ellison had been making all these comments publicly about what his plans for HBO and HBO Max are, it came out of Warner Brothers that the guy who's the head of HBO and HBO Max, David Ellison hadn't even talked to him. He's out there making announcements about what's going to happen to HBO and HBO Max when you haven't even talked to the guy who's running HBO and HBO Max. Now, one of the things that the article did point out, and I say this to his credit, is that as soon as that big executive meeting was done, Ellison went and had lunch with Casey Bloys, who is the head of HBO and HBO Max. Probably a meeting that should have happened weeks ago because, you know, they said one of the first things that Ted Sarandos did when they were winning the thing, before they made any announcements, he sat down with, and went out to lunch with James Gunn and Peter Safran, Casey Bloys, DeLuca and Abdi. He made sure he was on the page with everybody, and out there was David Ellison making announcements before even talking to these people. But he did then go and have that meeting with Casey Bloys. We already know that they want to keep Casey Bloys. I think Casey Bloys is going to split after his contract's up in 2027. But still, that was a good thing to hear. So that's a step in the right direction. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It wasn't the best start. It certainly wasn't a sequel to that Ted Sarandos Netflix meeting with the Warner Brothers executives that everybody loved. Everybody's coming out of this one going, he's a passionate guy and he really loves movies, but we don't trust him. We don't believe him. He didn't tell us what the plan is. And it would have been nice to know what's going on. And so the word used in the article was unimpressed right now. But again, bad starts don't necessarily mean bad conclusions. I remember when the Philadelphia Eagle coach showed up in Philadelphia, had a disastrous first press conference. The introduction press conference, everybody was like, what the hell are the Eagles doing? They got a Super Bowl ring now. So, I mean, listen, bad starts don't necessarily mean bad endings, but we are off to a bad start. Maybe they can turn it around. Anyway, guys, whatever you think about all this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.